Hello again, it's only me and welcome to another video. In this video, it's a little bit different because I thought I would film an entire project for uni from start to finish. The project was 3 weeks long, so this video is an accumulation of 3 weeks worth of footage. And what you're seeing right now is just some random painting that I did just for the intro of this video whilst I explained what was going on. If you don't know who I am, what I do, my name's Emily and I'm studying illustration at university and I'm in my second year. I make a lot of videos about the art I do. Usually I make sort of week of art videos where I just film 1 week and that's the whole video, but for this one, because there was just so much writing some weeks, I wasn't really doing that much art, I decided to just accumulate all the footage from 3 weeks together into one video so you could see the project from start to finish. So let's get into it. I guess I will start with talking about what the project is. So the project, like I said before, is 3 weeks long, which really isn't a lot of time to do a project because as well as all this drawing stuff and all the art I'm making, there's a lot of research and writing that also goes into projects. So drawing really is only like half of the work, which is one of the main reasons why I haven't made a video in quite a while, because a lot of my weeks have really just been filled with research and writing. Anyway, yeah, the project, we have to make a comic. A single page comic with no words, a wordless comic about a piece of text. We got about 10 pieces of text to choose from and I picked one called, I'm really sorry but I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, De Senschufferen. I'll pop it up on screen right now, so if you want to have a read you can pause the video, but to quickly summarise it, it's about someone who does a lot of travelling and doesn't really feel like they belong anywhere. They're quite lonely and they're very detached from reality and they kind of just want to disappear, to be honest. So it's quite a hard-hitting, heavy piece of text, but I really wanted to tackle it because I thought it had some interesting imagery that I wanted to draw. So what you saw me doing just then was lots of sketches just inspired directly from the text, just filling up 4 pages with everything and anything that I could come up with, really, inspired by my piece of text. Here I am doing my first sort of media experiment. I'd done all my sketches and I just took one idea which I was quite fond of, which was in the piece of text they mention plankton quite a lot. I say plankton, but I think it's plankton, but that's just because in SpongeBob that was the name of the character, Plankton, so that's just how I say it. Anyway, there was plankton mentioned quite a lot, and when I looked at pictures of plankton under a microscope it looks really cool, and these shapes are all inspired by plankton, like all intertwining together. Yeah, so here I am just experimenting with media. This is done in gouache. And another thing that I didn't mention in the beginning is that the project has to be monotone. It can only be one colour. You know, like you can see here, I can have like various like tones. So I can have like light blue, dark blue, but I couldn't add like red or anything. So basically if it was black and white, I can go black, white and all the shades of grey in between. That was quite a challenge because if you know me, you know I like colour. But I really liked the imagery of the plankton, so I ended up taking that through to my final. But I do change the design quite a lot. Like I previously mentioned, there was a lot of writing in this project, and one of the main pieces of writing that we had to do was our case study, which had to be 500 words, which really 500 words really isn't a lot, it's just 1 page of writing. So the writing part of that didn't take too long, it was just the researching which took a very long time. We had to write about, well, you could write about anything you wanted as long as it was to do with comics, and I chose to write about narrative in abstract comics and just trying to find a piece of art which I wanted to talk about. it took me absolutely ages, because first off it had to fit my theme and I had to like it, and it also had to have a lot I could talk about, so it takes a while to find stuff. Anyway, here I wanted to show you just very quickly how much writing is actually involved and research. So these are my Google Slides. This is how the teachers see our work, and as you can see there's a lot of research and writing. So the first week really was just filled with doing all this. I didn't actually start drawing anything until quite a few days into the project. But yeah, I was very happy to have my case study done and dusted, so I could finally get on to doing more practical stuff. Speaking about practical work, here I am doing a little bit more. I wanted to do some collaging because I like me some collaging, I do. It was a bit sad doing collaging in black and white though, because I just like colour so much. So it did feel a bit weird just doing stuff in black and white because it's really not me. But I really like the textures. I painted all the paper with various painting techniques to create loads of textures, a lot of dry brushing, a lot of splattering with the paintbrush to create all the nice textures, which I collaged, all various things inspired by the sea. So that's my collage of my ocean related things. And then I also wanted to experiment with just a few different medias, so I whipped out my oil pastels, which I haven't used since last time I used them was for my final project last year, so it's been a while. I like to combine them with coloured pencils, and it's just a lot of back and forth. I don't really know what I'm doing properly with them, so I just kind of improvise my way through it until it ends up looking like something which I like. Sorry if you can hear whirring in the background, my laptop fan's going a bit crazy, so sorry if you can hear that. I also messed about with a little bit of acrylic, which you can kind of see, and did a bit more collaging. These are all done quite, I say quickly, but it's not really quickly. Like this whole page took me like a couple hours, but that's just because most of the time I spend thinking about what to do, because my motivation and my inspiration was very low on this day, and I was kind of just struggling to come up with ideas, so a lot of the time was spent just kind of staring into space, thinking, I don't know what to draw, what should I draw? There were times when the motivation for this project were very low, and the only thing that kind of keeps me going through it is the fact that, I don't know, I just have to. Like if I don't do the work, it's not going to get done, it's not going to magically appear, so I just force myself through it. Look how nice my view is, I love it so much. I absolutely love my desk. If you watched my last video, you will remember me moving into this room. If you haven't watched my last video, I recommend it because I think it's one of my best videos. I showed myself moving to art uni, did a bunch of nice art. So yeah, that's that. The next media that I chose to do stuff in was coloured pencil, and I had a sneaking suspicion that I would do coloured pencil for my final piece, because I kind of could picture it in my head, like a little bit, a tiny bit, just a little bit, and I knew I wanted to have something which was really kind of soft and delicate, and I know that with coloured pencils I can achieve quite a fuzzy look, because the past couple coloured pencil drawings I've done have been done in this like similar style where the colours kind of merge into each other, and there's a lot of smooth gradients, but on top of that I have a few like harsher lines where like here and there, and I thought that would go really nicely with this piece. So here I am just experimenting with my coloured pencils. I tested out a bunch of different colours until I found I found 4 coloured pencils which were as close to monochrome as I could get them, like all the same tone, not tone, like value, tone, I don't know which word to use. They were all very close to each other in the blue spectrum of colours. but just like lighter and darker. This is a little sped up bit of me doing some coloured pencil work just to show you how time consuming it is. So just to do something very, very small, it takes a very long time because I have to be so light and like put very little pressure on the pencil, and that's how I create the really smooth kind of fuzzy gradients. So just to do this one little area took me like, I think it was 8 minutes in the end, so very time consuming stuff, but I think it kind of pays off because I really like the way it looks. So yeah, they're my coloured pencil experiments. I did them and I was really happy with them because I kind of knew after I did them that, oh, this is what I want to take through into my final. So I was very happy when I got them done because I was a little bit lost before with all the other media experiments because they weren't really what I was going for. So this made me happy. Oh, this was quite fun. I did a lino workshop at uni. If you don't know what lino is, it's a little kind of bit of plastic and you can carve out shapes in it and it kind of turns it into a stamp. So I did a lino workshop which I really enjoyed, although it was very rushed because there was a fire alarm in the middle of it, so I think I had like 15 minutes to do the carving, but I really liked the way it looked in the end, and even though I'm not going to use it for this project, I will definitely like to revisit lino in the future. Here's my sketchbook. I just thought I'd do a very quick sketchbook flip through just because there's a lot of work that I didn't end up filming because I didn't really fancy filming everything, especially because of how much work I had to do. I didn't fancy getting the camera out every time I wanted to do a drawing. So here's my sketchbook. So you've already seen these 2 pages filled of sketches that you saw in the beginning, and my collage experiments and my gouache, and the first 3 pages you've already seen me doing, but I'll get to new stuff in a second. And there's my oil pastels and a bit more collage. You can see a bit closer up of my acrylic thing that I did very quickly. They're supposed to be birds, but I'm not sure how obvious that is. Here's my coloured pencil stuff that I did. Oh, I did quite a lot of these gouache texture things. I only put one of them in my book though, which I end up using later on in my final piece to add texture. I kind of overlay them on Photoshop, but you'll see that later on. This is new, you haven't seen this before. Here are my thumbnails, all trying to come up with a composition, because obviously I've been doing a lot of sketches of random things, but I hadn't really thought much about how they would go together into a comic, and like what the composition of the actual comic would be like. So that's me trying to figure all that out, and then I took my favourite ideas from that and I did 3. They call them roughs, but they're not really rough because I spent quite a lot of time on them. But here are my 3 final ideas, which I really liked all of them, to be honest. I liked the top 2 the most. The one at the bottom was a little bit of a last minute thing because it was getting really late at this point and I just needed to get the work done and I wanted to go to sleep. But they're my final roughs. And then I did some value compositions. As you can see, I went for the kind of bubbly one to take through to my final just because I liked how, I don't know, I just liked the flow of it. It seemed quite nice. And then before I start my final piece, I just wanted to quickly run through my slides, which you saw me showing you before, but this is all the practical work put onto my slides, just because I did quite a lot of stuff on Photoshop, which obviously I can only show you on my slides. And there was also a lot that we did in lessons. We're in uni for 1 full day a week, and in uni we do a lot of very quick drawings. You don't really get a lot of time to do stuff, so the drawings we do whilst in uni are quite messy and quick. So they all go onto my slides and you can see a bit more of my digital stuff. And yes, that is all the work from my slides. Time to move on to my final piece. Moving on to my final piece, it was nice to finally be working on it after, I don't know, 2.5 weeks of, you know, kind of preparing for it. I felt really confident going into this because I'd done so much preparation work that I kind of knew exactly what the final piece would look like in my head, and it was just a case of actually doing it. So my idea for this comic was to create something that wasn't like the traditional comic. It doesn't have stuff in rectangles, and obviously we're not allowed to include any text, so it had to be all visual. And when we first started this project, when I heard the word comic, I was like, oh, I'm not really that interested in comics, just because I didn't really know much about them. I only knew the ones that you just always see, like the classic superhero comics where everything's in a rectangle. And I don't know, I wasn't really that excited, but the more we had like lessons on it and the more I started learning about them, I was like, oh wow, you can basically do anything with a comic. There's so much variety. Like the panels have like so much diversity to them. They can be like any shape. You don't even need to have panels. It's just, the world of comics is very big and you can basically do anything. So some people might look at this and just think, how on earth is that a comic? It looks nothing like a comic. But that's just because mine's more abstract and doesn't really follow the traditional rules, I guess, of a comic. But there still are panels. There's obviously like the two circular panels in the middle. There's the one big panel which the two bubbles are laid on top of, and then there's two free panels all at the top. So there is a little bit of a story going on. So yeah, that's my little lecture about comics. Sorry if that was a bit boring. I've just been learning a lot these past few weeks and it's quite interesting. Well, to me it is. Yeah, so what I wanted to do for this piece is, obviously there's not much of an obvious story. I wanted to make something that was a bit more, I don't know, abstract, I guess, and the viewer can look at it and interpret their own meaning. I just wanted to create a mood rather than a story, I suppose, and hopefully the mood comes across as something that's quite delicate and a little bit melancholy. Is that the right word? I don't know. I just wanted you to look at it and get a sense of the person in the comic wanting to kind of disappear or like merge into the water and be taken away by the water. That was my goal. Hopefully that comes across. Now, talking about doing the actual piece, oh my goodness, it was a very long time. Took a very long time. Probably, I'm guessing, maybe 10 hours in total to do this piece, which really isn't that long considering I once did a painting that took like 50 hours. So that's not really that much when you compare it to that. Yeah, but it was kind of like 2 full days of work and then a little bit of work on another day. My 4 pencils got a lot shorter through the process of this painting. My painting, what am I on about? Drawing. My light blue pencil is tiny now. It's like a little stump. I could probably get another one of them because it's getting very low and I use it a lot. But how I do it is I started with my lightest colour, the lightest blue pencil I had, and just did that everywhere. And I don't press on very hard with the pencil. I barely apply any pressure, and most of the time when I was looking through the footage of me drawing, it can be a 5-minute clip and then it looks like nothing's happened in that entire 5 minutes just because it takes so long to build up the tone. And I was thinking, flipping it, this footage is boring because it's like a 10-minute time lapse of basically nothing changing just because of how long it takes. So hopefully this isn't too boring to watch. I tried to add different angles to make it more fun. So I finished my first project. It feels very nice to have that done and dusted, out of the way. We're starting our next project tomorrow, and that's 3 weeks long as well, so I would like to try and film all that as well and make another video. Hopefully it isn't another 3 weeks, I'm not quite sure how long it's been since I've last made a video, but hopefully you won't have to wait that long for another one, and I can film something in the meantime for you to watch, because I don't like going that long without making a video. But here's the final piece, and I was working late into the night to get it done. But it was nice to finally get it done. It took me a very long time to get this edited into the digital version, but I didn't film any of that because it's very, very boring. I added a bunch of textures to it on Photoshop, which you'll see when I show you the digital version, so you can see how I added all the kind of gouache splatters that I showed you before in my sketchbook, how I overlaid them on top just to add a bit more texture to the final comic, and that's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching this project from start to finish, and it's been interesting, and I hopefully will see you in not too long. I'll try not to make it 4 weeks again until I next make a video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.